This is the Huawei MatePad Pro 2025 edition, 13.2 inch. I've had this now for about 3 weeks, and I think it's time to do the full review. Let's get started. Let's start with the specs. The MatePad Pro 13.2 2025 edition comes with the same screen as last year's 2024 edition. It is a 13.2 inch OLED display. It has a 3:2 aspect ratio with a resolution of 2080 by 1920 pixels. It delivers very sharp contrast, and I think the colors are great. It has a refresh rate of 144 Hertz. The scrolling is very smooth in this one, and it has a peak brightness of 1000 nits. So it works in all the lighting conditions, even when it's quite bad light. So it's very similar to the last year's edition. If we look a little bit under the hood, there is a difference when it comes to the processor. The new model updates the chipset to a Kirin 1920 compared to the 9000S that was in the last year's edition. So this processor is both faster, has better multitasking, and also improved on energy efficiency. Huawei is quite tight-lipped when it comes to the processor, but I guess we just have to trust them that this one is better. And I guess it should be since they worked on it longer. The camera also has seen a solid upgrade. The rear camera now has a 50 megapixel main sensor with an aperture of f1.8 and an 8 megapixel ultra-wide lens compared to the 13 megapixel and the 8 megapixel setup on the last year's version. The front-facing camera remains the same. It's 16 megapixel. And it's mounted on the side, or on the long side, which is quite useful, I think. I like this better than on top here. The battery capacity remains the same. It's still 10,100 milliamp hours. But the new version has a faster charger, which has 100 watts charging, 88 watts on the last year's edition. And it can charge from about 0 to 80% in about 40 minutes. When I tested it, it's very fast. It's really good. Now, when it comes to pricing, I got 12 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. This version costs 5,599 RMB on Taobao, Huawei's official store on Taobao, which is approximately 700 euros or 760 US dollars. If you're on a tighter budget, the 12 gigabytes of RAM and the 256 gigabyte storage model is about 5,099 RMB, roughly about 640 euros or 690 US dollars. And those who want all the storage, you can get 16 gigabytes of RAM plus 1 terabyte of storage. That option is priced at 6,999 RMB, or roughly 7,000, which comes to about 880 euro or 960 US dollars. You can also get the paper matte edition, and the paper matte edition is available in this configuration as well. You have to pay about 500 RMB more per each model to get the paper matte edition, which is about, let's see, it should be 65 euros or 70 US dollars. So, as you can tell, this is not a cheap tablet. It is the top model that Huawei produces. And with that, I think the expectation for its performance, features, and overall experience should be set accordingly. Now let's talk peripherals. I bought a third generation M Pencil for about 599 RMB. And I also bought the updated keyboard and protection. Yeah, for about 1,099 RMB. Let me give you my thoughts. So I think the M Pencil is a fantastic addition. This is the third generation. So if you've been using this with the old, the previous 2024 edition, it's the same. It is incredibly responsive, and it has a great. The pad has a great palm reaction. So when I write, it doesn't affect the. It doesn't pick up my palm. I think this one is a no-brainer. I'm not much of an artist, but I really like to use this one to draw and write. I actually used it a lot to practice my Chinese writing, and it feels like a real pencil. I never tried a stylus this good. It's amazing. When it comes to the keyboard, though, I think it's not very good at all. It costs 1,099 RMB. It's very overpriced. I mean, it's decent for typing. Traveling is pretty good. You can use it remote, like you don't. It says it's Neuralink. You can have it close by. You don't actually need to have it magnetically adapted. But I don't get it. It doesn't fit very well. It feels like it's a bit janky. It falls off. And very expensive. I feel like, and if you have this on all the time, it's why don't you get the laptop instead? I don't understand this. If you want to get the laptop experience, get the laptop. Don't pay this much for a tab. For me, I like to use the tablet in the sofa. It's watching movies, reading. If I want to work, I would prefer a real keyboard and a real mouse. So I would skip this if I were, that's my recommendation. Skip this, it's not worth it. Get a real remote Bluetooth keyboard or a Bluetooth mouse for 20% of the price. And if you need to have this portability, get a laptop. So instead, I got this 69 RMB, which is, I don't know, it's not much. This one is perfect. It's a standard, cheap magnetic cover, smart cover. Get this instead, much more convenient, and about 5% of the price. This is a steal. Now let's talk about Huawei's AI assistant, Celia. With the MatePad Pro 13.2 2025 edition, Celia AI has received a significant upgrade, making her both smarter and faster. This upgrade also works well with HarmonyOS Next, since this new Celia AI is better integrated into HarmonyOS Next. Celia is now more context aware. For example, you can ask her to open apps, set reminders, or control smart home devices with NLP commands. She's also better at understanding follow-up questions, which makes the interaction feel more fluid and conversational. Whether it's checking schedules, managing your to-do list, or even controlling apps like WeChat or Meituan. Celia definitely feels much more useful now than ever. One feature I found particularly useful is how Celia works in multitasking mode. You can summon her in a floating window while using another app, making her a great assistant for quick tasks without interrupting your workflow. Now let's talk about the app gallery in HarmonyOS Next. As many of you will do, and as I have did, the first thing I did was upgrade to HarmonyOS Next. And the biggest change is that HarmonyOS Next and App Gallery now exclusively supports HAP files, or Harmony OS application packages, which are the next gen equivalent of APKs, but designed specifically for HarmonyOS Next. This means that you can no longer download or install traditional Android APK files directly from the app gallery. Instead, the developers need to create native app versions of their apps. While this makes the ecosystem more streamlined and optimized for HarmonyOS Next, it does create some challenges for the users. In its current state, the app gallery contains a lot of apps. The majority of them Chinese, of course. So for the users living in China, I think most of the apps are covered, the big apps. Now we have WeChat, it is Meituan, Alipay, Douyin. But for Western users, there is limited support for popular apps. There is no Instagram, WhatsApp, Spotify, for example. They are not developed in HAP format yet. Maybe they will come. I hope so. I myself really hope that HarmonyOS Next can get in some traction from Western developers in Western markets or global South markets or whatever. So I know Huawei has been working on encouraging this, and there is potential, given the global interest in Huawei's product, that we will see more HAP apps. I really hope so. But as you might know, there actually is a way to install APK files. You can do this through two apps, Droidtone and Easy Abroad. Both of these apps are using virtualization to mimic an Android system, and then within that virtualization, you can load the APKs. I have another video here, and it goes through this more. So I won't dive into this too much, but it is possible. But it's not natively supported, so it's not the cleanest or smoothest experience, but at least it's a band-aid for now. Check out the video somewhere. Have you ever wanted to use your tablet as a big control panel for all of your other devices? This is now possible. You can actually do this now with Huawei's feature that's called Super Device, which links different Huawei devices into what Huawei calls a Super Device. So, for example, I can link my Huawei Mate phone to my pad, and I will be able to control my phone completely from the pad. So my pad can control my smartwatch, my TV, my phone, and it can all be loaded into one screen on the tablet. This also makes it possible to drag and drop files between these devices. I can also use MatePad as a secondary display for my laptop, for example, if I have a Huawei laptop. And this continuation of integration between these devices is only growing. But it's not all about the device connectivity. HarmonyOS Next also brings some fantastic gesture shortcuts, I think, to the MatePad Pro. Let me show you some of my favorites. So this one is how to take a screenshot. You can just knock twice on the screen with your knuckle, and voila, the screenshot is instantly captured. Feels very satisfactory, I think. Then there is also the tap with the knuckle and write an O. Now we can ask Celia, what is this? It's Shama. Small cat. Okay. Let's give her something harder. Here's another one. You can draw an S with your knuckle, and so you knock once, draw an S, and the MatePad Pro will automatically capture the full page. It will start scrolling. Once you feel satisfied, you can either push the screen and it will stop, or it will go down to the end. This one is another one of my favorites. It's very useful for me, since I live in China. I don't speak, my Chinese is not great. So I can ask Celia to translate the page by just holding 2 fingers on the menu. The Celia assistant will come up and she will ask me if I want to translate the context on the screen. It's amazing. I use this every day, every half hour, every 5 minutes. I use my pad. I use this feature. It's amazing. So all of these gestures might seem like minor features, and sure they are, but they're very convenient, and it feels great having this kind of small detailed features. It makes it so much easier and fun to use, and I really like this. I'm not sure. This might be possible to do this in the HarmonyOS 4 as well, but I never seen it before. I love it. I hope there will be some more features like this in the future. It's great. 2 thumbs up. So, in conclusion, this is a really nice device. It's really responsive. The build quality is amazing. It's a little bit pricey, and to be honest, 13.2 inches is quite big. It might be too big for you. Sometimes when I use it in the sofa and I don't have a stand or a table to put it on, it can, after a while, feel a little bit too much. It's not that heavy. It's only like 0.5 kilograms. But I think you should be aware of this. Maybe if you're interested in this, maybe go to the store and try it out first. See if this size is good for you. I know Huawei has smaller size, like 12.2, for example. That might be a better fit. This is a cheaper price as well. And you probably don't need all of this performance, I would say, because I think most people just use a pad as something to play around with in the sofa, maybe in bed. It's not something that most people work on or play on. There's other devices for that. But I mean, I really like this device, so I'm happy I have the top model that Huawei has to offer. It's great. I love playing around with the HarmonyOS Next, see the integration together with my phone. Playing around with that. I am thinking, is it possible to have, if you have 2 Huawei phones, can you have both of them displaying at the same time? If you can, that's probably set up your own kind of movie studio with that. It will be amazing. I'm going to try that in the future, maybe, if I have money for another phone. So yeah, great device. I recommend it. I'm happy. I don't regret wasting the money or spending the money. So yeah, until next time, have a good one.